Okay, hi everybody. This is Lisa Foote, AT specialist with Santa Barbara County Special Education Local Plan Area. This is going to be a brief introduction to the different accessibility platforms on Chromebooks and iPads. So if you have a Chromebook or you have an iPad, get those out or be prepared to listen and watch, but go on your own device so you can kind of get a handle on what's happening or how to use those things. Otherwise, would be a little bit boring to just listen and watch. Okay, let me share my screen here. Okay, so here we go with. This is going to be interesting. We'll see if my tech savvy works with all of this different stuff, but we'll see. Okay, so accessibility features. The first thing we're going to go through is Chromebook. So when you're in your Chromebook, to access that, you'd go into settings, and then you'd scroll down to advanced, and then under advanced is accessibility. I find that finding the accessibility settings on Chromebook is a little harder than it should be. You just keep scrolling. The advanced is very small. You click on that, and then you'll get into the accessibility settings. So
already lost. How do I get to the settings?
Okay, so I'm gonna get off my screen and get on my Chromebook screen and see if that will work. Okay, so now I'm going over here to this one. Got it.
I wish I was tech savvy, but
I'm not the most tech savvy, even though today, obviously.
Yeah, especially Chromebooks. I'm like, I think, okay, I found settings now.
Share. Okay, Chromebook, activate, share your entire screen. Okay. Let's see, Chromebook. There we go. All right, it's just so weird. I have two computers open. Okay, so this is just to set to a Google Doc screen, but I'm going to go to the launcher. And then I'm going to go to settings. So just follow along. And here I am in my settings. Network, Bluetooth, device. Keep scrolling. Oh, look, tiny little advanced thing down here. That's what you press.
See, my settings look different than that. So
yeah,
I will be behind always.
Yeah, I think it must be under advanced because every different Chromebook I've looked at, you know, you have to go to this advanced setting, but even if it looks different on yours, it just could be a newer version. So then I go in advanced, scroll down, and then I'm into accessibility. So always show accessibility options in the system menu. You can toggle that on, so then it's easier for you to find in the future. And then here is manage accessibility features. So the easiest one to start with would be these text-to-speech ones. So enable Chromebox. This is a screen reader. So doing this would have the whole screen read, which is usually used for people with visual impairments who can't really see the screen. They're just listening to the screen, everything read to know what they're on the screen. So that's not, I haven't used that too much with any other student. That would be typically used for somebody who can't really see the screen. The one I do use a lot is this enable select to speak. So you toggle that on, and then you can toggle onto the settings. And now we're into, you can select your voice. You can highlight. So I don't have to have it highlighted, but I can have it highlighted. I can have it different colors. So that's the background. I can shade the background comment.
Lisa, were those languages if the text is in that language, or will it translate English to that language?
Good question. Not really sure. I would assume it must be able to read. If it's a different language on the screen, it would be able to read that. That's what I would think.
Okay, yeah.
Like say you're you're looking at a website and it says translate this, like it's in Dutch or whatever, and you translate it to English, you shouldn't have a problem with that. But I have never really used the language feature, but I would assume it's just like, okay, this is French, you can read it in French.
Okay, thank you.
Let's see, so you're highlighting the word there. You can shade the background comment there.
Can I go back to that for a minute that you just mentioned?
Uh-huh,
What it does is it reads it to you in that language.
okay. Okay, oh, so if it's scanning the English reading, but you're listening to it in the other language.
It's, yeah, because my kids have messed around with it. And it's
Okay,
pretty-
thank you, Kathy. So you answered the question, good. So you could have some fun just listening to it in Spanish, but looking at it in English or vice versa. That could be actually helpful for students who are bilingual or learning one or the other languages. Let's see, so we got to the highlighting, the background content, the navigation controls. This is what, I guess I haven't used this one either, but I guess you can speed it up or slow it down while you're reading. Has anyone already been using this stuff in the Chromebook? I know some people have, but.
I think my district makes me put a password in to change these settings, and I don't have that admin password, so
Okay,
just discovered maybe a barrier.
yes, that's a good question. Well, let's see, most Chromebooks that I've just gotten into, if I'm at a school and it's some student's Chromebook, you just say yes, get in with the student's Gmail account. I haven't had any trouble going into the accessibility settings when I've been on a student's Chromebook. And I've done that multiple times in different districts. So that's a good question to ask. You shouldn't have to have,
It just prompted me for an admin password.
Okay.
So, oops.
That's no fun.
So I'll just watch and see if I can get them to respond. They're pretty good at responding. But I wonder if Dana has that because she's in Lompoc with me. And I imagine she's on a Chromebook. But we can't hear her to know.
Yeah, you have to type in the chat box for us.
Admin blocked her ability to use her speaker.
We already looked at that. Yeah, I have to go back to this. Back to that. Hold on. This makes me go all the way back again. It's kind of annoying. Okay, so text to speech voice settings. This is where you can have the rate changed and the pitch changed and the volume changed. And preview whatever voice that you want. So that's that. And since we have this toggled on, what I'm going to do is go over to this Google Doc and say, I actually spelled accessibility correctly. I spell that wrong every single time. So now I've toggled that on. I'm going to select this. And then I press my search key and S, and that should work just to read it out loud. Let's see, but of course it's not. So select S. Oh, here we go. Maybe my volume is not. Oh, because I did not, you know what? I didn't connect to the volume because I'd have the echoes, but you can see. So it will play that. And there's your speed up and your slow down menu, but it's not going to play it right now because I've turned the volume off so I wouldn't have the echo. Okay, so we'll go back to our settings. So that was the speech to voice. Okay, high contrast mode. A lot of people these days are using this. Many of you probably are too. So you can change everything to high contrast. Sometimes students like that better. Full screen magnifier. That makes everything giant. And the docked magnifier, if you put that on, that then moves with your finger. So then I could go around the screen this way. So I can already see the small screen, but then I can look at the bigger magnifying there.
Where did you get that again? I'm sorry.
This is under, let's go back. Oops, see, now I didn't get out of the magnifier. This is real annoying. You can see. Where'd I go?
Oh, did I have to go all the way back to accessibility?
No, I didn't turn the magnifier off, so now I'm going to be all out of accessibility, manage accessibility features. Okay. Let me get out of this magnifier. So you wanted to know where the magnifier was. So we're in accessibility features. We went through text
So
to speech.
manage or add?
Manage. So when you're in here, it just says, oh, you can manage accessibility features.
There we go.
Okay, and then you click to that.
And
We went
make-
through the text to speech, and now we're into the display, the visual stuff. So we said high contrast mode, the magnifier, and then that docked magnifier was when it moves around the screen. If you open the display device settings, this then lets you change how big you want your font or your display. So see how it just changed on mine? I like having the small text to see everything, but I'm getting older and now it's harder to see the small text. So it's kind of, I like to see as many things I can on the screen, but it's not possible all the time anymore. Okay. Open appearance settings, customize your text size. So then this goes into, move this guy over. It's weird that you have to see my little zoom thing here. I can't move it. Anyway, that's medium customized fonts. Okay. So go back. Oh, there we go. So now that's going to make me go all the way back in again. Sorry about that. Okay. Keyboard and text. Sticky keys. So this would be something, actually this could work well for some students if you know you're trying to get them to capitalize every sentence, but they never do. And then they just push the caps lock or something like that. What sticky keys does is it would allow you to push the shift key and then push your letter and it would capitalize it. So you don't have to hold the two screens, you don't have to hold the two the buttons down at the same time. So this is used for people, can be used for people who have trouble accessing, but can also be used for anyone, just to get in the habit of you first have to push shift before you get the capital. This one's a great one. Sometimes this can really be engaging for students with motor access problems or anybody. So now I have the on-screen keyboard and it comes up like this. And then I can use my mouse to type, and whoever does have the touch screen, I don't think this is an old Chromebook, it doesn't have a touch screen. So you could use the touch screen Chromebooks to be touching the screen versus touching the keyboard. And then when you're on this on-screen keyboard, it will have text prediction up in this bar, kind of like your phone does. So I just have to find it. Usually, hold on, settings key here. So we want show input options on the shelf. And that, okay, show input options on the shelf, and this should be English is enabled and coming in. So let's go back to our on-screen keyboard. And well, anyway, I've gotten it to work. Now I'm sad that I can't figure out how to work it. But usually what should happen is we can get the text to come up on that on-screen keyboard, and then that's kind of built in. If you need more than that, then you'd add like another extension. So then you can use spell check. We all know how to use that, customize spell check, and that's those settings.
Okay.
Questions, anyone? Okay, let's see. Back to here. See if I made it all the way through. So we did text to speech, we did display, we did keyboard and input. Some of the stuff I have not used, I'm just kind of showing you the main ones that I have used. Switch access, this would be if you wanted to use switches to control the computer. This would be for someone who has really complex body and can't access it in a typical way. And this would be something that you'd work with the OT with, or you'd work with me with to figure out that kind of access. It's a little bit more specialized. And this is great too. You can show large mouse cursor. You can make a different color. You can highlight the cursor. See how big this, I made this cursor huge on this one. Now
That's
it's
really
small.
helpful for this presentation.
Yeah, I probably should do that, right? There we go. Thank you, Kathy. And then captions. So you can do captions here. So I think that kind of covers most of the Chromebook accessibility features. I'll stop this share. Go back to my PowerPoint here. Let me look at the chat really quick. Let's see. Somehow I can't see the chat. All right, let's share the screen again. So we'll see if I covered everything with the outline. Like I said, this really just is giving an outline of what I just went over. I think it's really just easier to go into the settings and fool around yourself, but if somebody wants everything all in one place, then you can just look at the PowerPoint. So we went through all that, text to speech. We went through the visual, and we went through the keyboard and text. And audio and caption. So that covers Chromebooks. Before you get onto iPad, does anyone have any questions about that, or have you used any of that? Anyone have any interesting anecdote saying that they've used it? That would be great for us to hear, or anybody else watching this later.
How do you get the captions in the bottom as you're speaking? Like for this presentation, we can see what people are saying. Oh, I guess
So this
doing what as I'm saying.
Yeah.
As I'm speaking.
So this is the captions that are built into PowerPoint. So in the
okay.
PowerPoint, I could share my screen and show you the PowerPoint accessibility settings. It just says use captions every time. So you also can have captions in Zoom, and you can have captions in different places. So like if you're on your Chromebook or on the iPad and you want captions, you can toggle that on, but it's only if captions would be available that would pick that up. It also depends on who's doing the actual Zoom. They can put the captions on, but then it's up to the viewer to decide, oh, I'm going to turn these captions on or not. So, but for this presentation, I actually only have the captions on in the PowerPoint, not the Zoom, but you can look for that too.
Okay. Oh, good to know that it's there. I was curious about that.
Here, let me show you really quick. So, so if I go to my screen versus the actual PowerPoint, if you see up here, slideshow, it should say, I always use subtitles is over here, and then subtitles settings.
So it's called subtitles, not
Yeah,
captions?
well, this is PowerPoint. So this is just
In
specifically PowerPoint, yeah.
Okay.
We can probably look for where that is.
I just need to know what it's called, and because sometimes it's hard to find if you're not quite sure. There's so many different features,
I know, and they're all, I mean, the whole point of this presentation is that, luckily all this accessibility features is really everywhere now. it's just slightly organized differently. It's slightly called different things,
Mm,
slightly different places. So it's good, but it also can be a little confusing if you can't always find it or it's called something different. So just, I can't show you the Windows version because I don't really know how to hook up my Windows computer over to Zoom on this Mac, but I was like, okay, I did the Chromebook and I can do my iPad after this. Let's see if we go up to here. So if I go up to the more button on my Zoom, sometimes that would say you could put the captions on there, but I don't see that right now. But good question. Okay, so now we're going to be on to iPad and I'm going to share my iPad screen. So you would go to access that, you'd go to settings, and then you have that left-hand bar to scroll down and you go to accessibility. Now iPad has so many accessibility features, it just like screen after screen. So you can go down different rabbit holes very easily. Again, I'm just going to try to show the basic ones that I've tended to use. So we're going to go back to my iPad. Okay. So most of the districts I've been in have the iPad or have the Chromebook. So we're going into settings. And here's our settings down here. And we find accessibility. And now the fun starts. So VoiceOver was the same as Chromevox. So if you're to do VoiceOver, that speaks the whole screen. You can toggle up and down the rate, the speech, your recognition. Again, I have not used this, but this is here. If you had somebody who could not see the screen at all and had to navigate by listening. Zoom is like the magnifier we just showed you. So when you have Zoom on, Zoom is done with your three fingers, yes. So you double tap 3 fingers to zoom, you drag 3 fingers to move around the screen, like the docked magnifier in Chromebook, and then you double tap 3 fingers to change the zoom. So that's turning it on and turning it off. Next, we get to display and text size. This is nice to use sometimes. We can have bold text. We can have larger accessibility sizes, where you can adjust it how you want here. Button shapes. I have not used button shapes, but I do like the on-off. Here's the on-off label, so the on and off. I guess that would work if somebody had a little bit of color blindness problem. Reduced transparency I have not used, but that's improving contrast. I actually have increased contrast on, there's increased contrast off. Differentiate without color. And then smart invert. There's smart invert. Reverses the color of display, except for the images and media. Classic invert. Looks kind of the same. Color filters, now that's something interesting I've had some students try to use. So maybe you have, or maybe you guys could use it if you get any screen fatigue looking so long. People like to wear some blue blocking glasses, but you can actually do it color filters on this. So you can gray, red, green, green, blue, color tint, and then you can, let's see if we put the red, green on. We'll put the green one on. Then you come down here and you can change the intensity of it.
What does it look like?
Yeah, I can't, it's not really coming up on, well, you can't do it there. Red, green. Here we go. Color filters. It should just kind of tint the screen, but it's not really working. Can't tell.
I can show you on mine if you want to see.
Yeah, I've had it work, but I don't know why it's not working this second. So your whole screen kind of gets tinted pink or tinted green.
Yeah, this one is the color tint. The other ones don't really do much except for the grayscale. That just
The
makes it
grayscale.
gray.
Yeah, I'm not sure why mine doesn't want to work right now. Reduce white point and auto brightness. Okay, motion I have not used, but that has to do with sort of, you know, when you go between screens and stuff, the motion and the animation can be distracting to some people. I have not used that, but that's what that's for. Okay, so spoken content. Now we're back in what we were just in with Chrome, speak selection. So when speak selection is on, you select your text, and then the speak button will appear. So you're on your iPad, and you know, if you're using the touch screen, you scroll with your finger to highlight everything in blue, and the little black bar comes up. Now on that little black bar, you'll have a speak button. So then you just push the little speak button versus copy or paste, and it will speak it. Speak screen is sort of an in-between speak selection and that voiceover that speaks the whole screen. This would just be like, I'm on a certain screen and I'd like to read this screen. So then remember the zoom on the iPad, magnifier zoom was your 3 fingers to do. And now when you're on the speak screen, this is 2 fingers. So you swipe down with your 2 fingers and the whole screen, that whole screen will be red. Same here, you can do highlighting content. You can do words, you can do sentences, you can do words and sentences. You can decide if you want it underlined or background color, and which word, what would you like your word color to be, and what would you like your sentence color to be. So, you know, this is really helpful for students who, you know, they're not great readers yet, but they might be able to follow along auditorially, but then when you have that highlighted stuff going on in the color that they particularly like or attend to, then that can help just with their reading and following along. Typing feedback. So this is when you're typing, this would be good for, it will speak the letter while you're typing the letter. You can speak words, speak auto text, and speak predictions. So this is sort of like, if everyone knows like co-writer, when the predictions come up, you might not be able to read them, but if you push it, it will speak the prediction. Oh yeah, that is the word I want. Okay, I'll use that word. Okay, so that's the vision stuff. Now we go down to the touch and physical and motor. So assistive touch, probably most of you won't need this, but it can come up. One of the issues with iPad, you know, everybody loved the iPad when it first came out. Look at this great touch screen. But for some students, you know, with complex bodies, you know, actually reaching up and touching the touch screen is harder and is more of a barrier. But iPad is an iPad and it doesn't have a mouse. So for many years, it was like, how do we make this iPad? Well, this iPad isn't accessible because I really just can't lift my arm up 1,000 times to interface with the touch screen. And if it's down, sitting on the table, like it's kind of hard to see that too. So they finally made assistive touch where you can have a mousing capability with an iPad. So that would be something that you would, you know, it's a little bit more specialized, but that's how you would set that up. Again, here's the switch control here. I have been using the switch control a lot with different students. So if you needed that, that would be, call me up and I will help you troubleshoot that. I won't show you all that right now. Voice control. I have not used voice control. Has anyone out there used the voice control yet on the iPad? I mean, I've used, you know, in terms of voice dictating texts on my phone, but voice control allows you to use everything by voice. So it's by Siri. So you can command everything, dictate and edit text, open things, go home, go back, go to sleep, swipe left. I haven't used it, but that could be helpful for some people. There's your English vocabulary. Oh, that's just to add more vocabulary on your voice control. Top button. So this is an iPad 4 that I have, a newer iPad. So that doesn't have the home button, but it has the top button. So you can decide what you want the top button to do. You can have it do Siri and you can have it do off. And then keyboards. So this would be if you wanted to hook up an external keyboard. It's kind of funny. It's like on computers, sometimes we're like, well, the keyboard's not working. We'll use an on-screen keyboard. But then you're on an iPad and sometimes the on-screen keyboard, well, I'd like an external keyboard. So it's just really, that's why the assistive technology stuff is, you know, it works for a lot of people, but then you have to just customize it for the student. And a lot of that, you know, you never know what might work better. Why would they need an external keyboard on an iPad, but they like the on-screen keyboard on the regular computer? You know, it's mostly based to whatever your district's already using and seeing what engages them. Because a lot of times, even if it's not motor problems that the student has, it can just be sort of attention, focus, engagement, something, and some other way to do something might be the little tiny key that gets them slightly more focused and engaged in the process. Hearing devices. So this would pair your hearing aid with the iPad. Audio and visual is interesting. This is a new thing that I didn't realize was on here. So this would do your headphone accommodations. And then here, background sounds. This is cool. You can put background sounds on and it will play white noise for you to help you focus or drown out whatever's going on. So I think that's neat. I think there's different sounds. Yeah, rain, ocean, screen. So that can be fun. We'll turn that off for now. And okay, so now we're into the last set, and then subtitles and captioning. Same thing. If I were to toggle this on, it's when available, closed captioning will come up. And then the style, you can change how you'd like your subtitles to look. So they're tiny right there, but I can get them large. I can make a new style. I can have a different type of background. You know, I can change my font, change my color, anything I want. Okay, and then the last section is general. So guided access, most of you, I would assume, are familiar with guided access. Guided access is when you want to lock somebody into an app so they can't get out of it, so they can stay on that one. A lot of times we use it with like AAC software, like stop going to YouTube, stay on this AAC app, or you could use that. It's really in a one-on. I don't think you can do that as a teacher with a whole class of iPads, but you know, you can try to lock kids into what they're using so they don't get distracted. And then it has a passcode to take it off. So you triple click, you're on guided access, triple click again to stop it, but you have to enter a passcode to stop the guided access. And then here, if you toggle this accessibility shortcut, this would change your triple click during guided access. It'll give you the accessibility settings to use. Right here. Oh, so this is what I meant. So here in accessibility shortcut, right now my triple click is set for guided access. But say you know, background sounds, like say a student really wants to triple click, the background sounds comes on in their headphones, maybe they can focus more. Maybe, you know, triple click, my contrast can increase, triple click anything. So this can be, if you know, triple click, voiceover, anything like that. So you can quickly get to the accessibility thing that you use the most by just triple clicking versus trying to go find it and toggle it. Okay, I think that really covers most of this accessibility. Anybody have questions about that?
The triple clicking. So I know how to do guided access where you triple click it and it can hold it on the app that you're using on the iPad.
Mhm.
Is there a way to do so that with a shutdown timer? So the kids will go on for their preferred app. We can set the timer for it to shut it down, not just shut it down, but where you have to have the code to get back to turn it on. Because right now I know how to get it to shut off, but they just press play again.
So time limits, it says you can have time limits. Sound, that just stops your time limit.
It's like all the way at the bottom,
Okay.
or at least on the ones that I use. There's like another thing that says stop.
Okay. That might be, we might have to be in, actually, I probably need to go into to guided access to see those settings. Yeah, so like, let's say, let me go into, I'll go into like a AAC app here. So I'm in my app, I'm gonna triple click for my guided access. So now we're here on this option screen. So one thing you can do is you can circle areas on the screen to disable. So if you don't want somebody to, push exit, you would or edit, you would circle that and gray out the screen so they can't touch that. So here we go, top button, volume button, motion, keyboards, touch, and time limit. So then this gives you, I mean, so if you use the time limit and it's like, okay, you've been on for 5 minutes, it shuts off. You say you just press play again and it'll start again?
Yeah, but this already looks different than the ones that I have.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if ours are updated or so they
Yeah, because
match.
I'm assuming, I'm assuming if the option is set in this guided access, it's going to stop and shut them out. And they shouldn't be able to get back into it. Otherwise, what would be the point of the time limit if they could just override it?
Yeah.
So
Do you see that, Dana? Have you tried to use that? You haven't? Oh.
cancel, okay, stop this. Whoops, let's see. Sorry, here we go, iPad. Let's see if we saw everything. So vision, we talked about that. Typing feedback, we talked about that. I didn't mention the audio descriptions. I went over that, but so that's if accessible pictures, people will write, if you can't see the picture, somebody will write a description of the picture, and then you'd be able to hear the description. Oh, picture of a blue sky, bright sun, water, there's a sailboat with a red sail kind of thing. So you could hear the picture. Which actually, just as I was saying that out loud, this just popped into my head. It'd be kind of interesting if you had access to audio descriptions. It would be fun for students to listen to that and be like, oh, here's all the description of this picture. You know how you ask students like, okay, give me more details, and they're like, it's just a boat there. Like, okay, what else is there? So I think that actually might be a fun thing to try, is find audio descriptions that are made and be like, okay, here's how this is described with description. Now you try to describe it to build out your writing or your thoughts. Physical and motor we went through, hearing we went through, and general we went through. I'm going to skip over the Windows and Microsoft because I don't think anyone is using it at the moment. I guess I'll go through the slides, because if you are watching this later and you do have Windows and Microsoft, then you can just see the outline of where to find it. So Windows, you would access it, again, settings. Windows, Microsoft calls it ease of access versus accessibility. And everything in Microsoft is sort of simplified and says, hey, make everything bigger, make your computer easier to hear. They give you sentence prompts of what you're doing versus calling it some name like Chromebox or VoiceOver. Windows says, make it so you can hear better, make it so you can see better. So it's easy to follow in that regard. So you can fix the display, make it bigger. You can change the pointer size of the mouse. You can change the text cursor. They have a magnifier as well. They have color filters as well, high contrast as well. And the narrator in this case is the screen reader. And then hearing, they also have audio and closed captions. So last thing, so this was just a very basic overview of the built-in accessibility settings. So you can start with these first to just try anything different for your student, but these are just basic ones. If you find like, well, this isn't really working, I need something more. Next step would be going up to the open access flip kit and looking through that and getting some ideas of more things you could use. And I'm going to do more I'm doing other trainings that is going to focus on these flip kits in terms of reading and writing and math and executive functioning. So those will be the other sessions I'm going to do, and we'll go into some tools in more detail that you could try with kids. Obviously, if you're using Chromebooks, there's going to be Chrome extensions that you can try. And there's also might be district-wide licenses on Chrome extensions. It just depends. I've different districts have had, oh, everybody has Cami or everybody has Read and Write. Or sometimes you'd have to just, if you're special education, you'd have to then buy the license for that specific child if the district doesn't buy them in bulk or not for everybody. These are the areas that the flip kit covers. So pretty wide range. Reading and literacy, writing, composition, math, executive functioning, digital skill building, access, hearing, vision, activities of daily living, recreation, leisure, seating, positioning, mobility, and communication and collaboration. And this is a really fun flip kit. It's very visual, very easy to look at. The one area that is not on here, I really have noticed, is like social emotional learning, which I guess falls under executive functioning, but that would be another good one to have. So that is the link for that. And I can also show you that as well. If I go over to, so here we are at the flip kit. This is the link, and there's actually UDL flip kit, there's an AT flip kit and an AAC flip kit, but here's the AT flip kit. So you can go into any of these areas and look for some ideas to support your students. So digital skill building, if you go into here, digital literacy, that you scroll down and it will give you different programs that you can at least scan and go to links and look at them and read about them. And obviously, if you have questions about them or you want to try something, a lot of these are free, but some of them aren't free. Again, you can always contact me and we can try to figure out what to try or how to do it. Okay. Well, that is what I have today for basic accessibility settings. Any further questions or share outs of how you're using those?
Karen, can you hear me now? Okay, I had to take my headphones off for some reason. So I'm wondering if on a Google Doc for a Chromebook, if there's a way to have the text read aloud.
Yes, there should be. I just did it yesterday with a student at Foothill, but of course on mine, it was not wanting to work. It should be, when you have that toggled on, the select to speak in the Chromebook, you highlight your text and then you would push the search key, which is that little magnifier key. That should be the caps lock that I just realized is the search key. Search plus S should speak the selection. And then search plus D should start dictation. But most kids are just going over to voice typing in the tools on Google Docs and doing it that way.
Yeah, that's what I'm using, but I haven't been able to get, like, I can get it to speak the text like on online text, but I'm not sure how to get the Google Doc text to speak to me.
Oh,
That makes
that's yeah. So I've had the more luck doing the text, the reading on the Google Doc versus on a random website. So yeah.
Okay.
And then there's the other issue of like, oh, we're on an online curriculum and it's completely inaccessible. It's like, so then that point, we would actually need to try to get a screen reader. So that would be like, I'm on a web-based page and I can highlight the text and have it read aloud. And that's usually a Chrome extension or an app. Or read and write, I think will do that too. And Cami will do that too. A lot of these other ones will do it, but that's not helpful when you're just on the web all the time, where you're on an inaccessible something on the screen.
We have, we used to pay for Google Read and Write, and for some reason we don't anymore, but we still have that. I think you could, you might want to try to download Google Read and Write in your apps, because we seem to have a free, some of it works, but it's really only the one that reads it back to you.
Yes,
So,
actually for you Goleta people, I talked to Jeremiah Johnson yesterday about that. So he said in the past, the whole district had the read and write license, and it was very cheap. It was like $1 per student, so like $3,000, but they didn't renew them this year, but they might renew them. They can renew them. If a specific student needs them, you can get the full version, because the limited version that I saw yesterday just allowed the playback. It didn't allow.
yeah, so I'm wondering if you could download the Google Read and Write and see if the limited version, like it just sort of started working on ours. But that's how my kids access it.
Okay.
It's not nearly as good as Google Read and Write though, because that, I don't know. I mean, it's not as, I loved Google Read and Write because it did so much.
Well, if you loved it, I mean, yeah, we need to advocate for it to be back.
I
Because,
have, yeah.
and we can get other people at Goleta to advocate for it to come back, because it is a great tool that anybody can use. I think part of the issue, of course, is people having the attitude or seeing that kind of stuff as cheating, where it's not really cheating, it's universal design and helps people access things wherever they need to be accessed. So it doesn't hurt anybody, it just enhances, and it's not cheating. But that's one of the things that is always a barrier, that people think, well, they're not really learning if they're using these accommodations. Yes, they're learning. They might actually learn easier when they have some of their own barriers removed. Okay. Well, thanks for coming. And of course, you can always contact me, email me, call me. If you do email me, there's always the Google Site address under my signature that goes to some of the, it really links to the Flip Kit as well. It's just kind of a mini website collecting some things that I have, like forms and supports and referral forms and things like that. So thanks for coming. And maybe I'll see you next time. Like I said, the other 3 are going to be more focused on looking at some specific tools within those Flip Kits. The first session will look at some reading. The second will look at some writing stuff. And the third will look at some math and executive functioning. So those will be primarily like, here's what they look like. Here's some videos about how they're used and examples. Okay, so thanks for coming. Have a good one.
Thank you so much. This was great. Thank you.
You're welcome.